There's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to it be Susan humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord, yeah, yeah.
All right, hey, well, back again on New South Christians. I'm David Fuqua, the host, and we got a young man here. I've had him in, I had him in macroeconomics. I've got him in micro now, and he is one of the most positive people I think I've been around this year. So I thought give us a different perspective, and he's here local. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll just go ahead and dive right in. So go for it.
Hi, my name is Wade Wells. I'm a current freshman here at Ball State in my second semester, and I'm majoring in business management. Like he said, I've been in his class, both of his economics classes, and I appreciate him being showing that I'm a positive influence and stuff.
Well, you are positive.
Yeah.
My gosh, people in class, our configuration for our class is a little bit different now, but I think people equate you with a positive person, which I think is good.
Yeah.
So I guess we're setting you up. Everything you're going to say is going to be positive, right?
Just
Okay.
trying to, yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started to kind of do it easy on him. You just said something a minute ago, another young man we had on, Aiden Humphreys, I think he was in our class.
Yeah.
He was fascinated with heaven and hell. And so if you died right now, what do you think happens to you?
Well, I believe that we're going to go to a place and God is going to judge us on our actions. And based on what we've done on this earth, if we follow Jesus, we're either going to heaven or hell.
Really?
So,
What's heaven to you? Can you describe heaven, what you think it'd be like?
I believe it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be majestic. It's going to be on wonders we can't see or imagine.
Just can't even imagine. But well, what's hell?
I think it's a pit of darkness and eternal inferno.
Right.
Yeah.
So just fire. So you're on the heat, the fire, and the darkness.
Gnashing of teeth, weeping.
Gnashing of teeth. Yeah. Okay, good. So you got the real negative image of that, right? So we don't want to do that. Well, the reason why I started with that, because the whole show, New South Christians, I was telling you a minute ago, really grew out of the idea that the people we have in class, you've been in class now twice. We got some different people in there.
We do.
They're from a lot of different places. We're starting to get more diversity, different cultures, different races, et cetera. And just how the views in economics have changed. I just thought this was an interesting thing because we're in the Bible Belt. But then 100 people a day are coming to Nashville, and I'm thinking, I don't think the Bible Belt's the same anymore. So the best way to do it is get people like you on. And everybody we've had on has been totally different. Some the same. It isn't your grandma's Bible Belt anymore, I don't think. So a couple other things, because you're a young man, I wanted to ask you about. This is some recent stuff I looked at. It was talking about how unhappy young men are in your age group. Do you think that's true?
I do.
I know you're positive, but I mean, you obviously are in the world with the rest. So.
It's hard to find a positive person these days.
Really?
It really is. Someone you can trust. Trustworthiness is really hard to find.
Well, they talked about less engaged in the issues. Men also are struggling academically. They're less likely to graduate. There's more women now in college than men. It says they're 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. And I thought, well, that's not good. And even Aiden talked about this, having fewer friends and being lonely. Do you believe that? I mean, is that true?
I believe that we are experiencing anxiety, loneliness, and doubt. Doubt is a big one.
But why now?
Right now?
Yeah, why do you think this is happening now? Because this is, I mean, I'm not saying the women are perfect. They've talked about anxiety, suicide, et cetera, but all the numbers say men much higher.
I believe social media, in a way, has an impact on that.
Really?
Because not as much anymore. We don't have an impact in interactions with people.
Okay.
And
so, like, if you're interacting online.
Yes.
Not face
not
to face.
to face.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you think that's had a huge impact? That well, Aiden talked about that he just didn't have many friends.
Yeah.
And he stated that, kind of like what you're saying, that on social media, having lots of contacts is not the same as having friends. those aren't friends.
They're not.
So you might have like, 300 people in your, I've got 300 friends on my thing, but they're not friends.
They're not.
Yeah, so.
They're just people you could talk to. It's just we really don't interact as much. I can't answer why I don't.
Well, that's pretty wild. Well, let's talk about some of the church stuff real quick. These other statistics, like 1/3 of the people never attend church. They don't go at all. And the other thing I found interesting, the largest group identified are those that they say they're spiritual but not religious. Like they don't necessarily believe in God the way it's been defined, or the way I'm assuming you believe. And I find that interesting. And they're the fastest growing group. Why do you think that is? I mean, we're in the Bible Belt, and those statistics are the same for us as they are nationally.
I partially can't really understand it because the Bible explicitly, I can't say the word.
Yeah, go for it.
It tells us directly what to do.
Right.
And they feel like independent now, and they want to. We need to move to a relationship with Christ.
Right.
And rather than meeting on Sundays and stuff, we can bring the interaction wherever we go. And I think they're starting to feel that more rather than just one day a week for an hour or whatever.
Well, I think you're on probably the right path, because a lot of people talk about they want the people that do go to church and do believe and identify, they're also pretty down on the church. Like 18% don't trust the pastor. I mean, man, that's harsh.
It is.
And then the number of people that when they go to church, they say, I want an experience with God, but I'm not getting that. Like I'm out in the audience with a large group of people. There's a performance on the stage. We do 3 songs. We do a request for a tithe, and then we do a sermon, maybe 35, 40 minutes or whatever, and then the show's over. And the pastor becomes more of a performer, and I don't have an experience with God. If we have an altar call, there might be 1,000 people in the audience and 6 go down. So they're saying there's something missing there. There's something wrong. So do you experience that, or have you had those experiences, or what do you think?
I think our generation gets easily offended at people. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So if you say one thing, they just knock you out and don't care about you anymore. Really, it's kind of harsh. But.
So I'm out of here, right?
Yeah.
So if the pastor slips up, well, then that brings me to an interesting question. But I was reading this last night. The number one issue that people in your age group leave the church over is the whole issue of the LGBTQI. In other words, how are we going to address that issue? Now, is that, gosh, I know it's a bad way to put it. Is that an excuse to leave the church, or is it just, like you said, one little thing and I'm out of here, and then I post on TikTok and then I'm really out of here?
Yeah.
So do you think that's what's going on, or how would you answer that question? That might be a better question.
Say it again.
So in other words, how would you handle, let's say you're the pastor of a church and you have all these Gen Z people, just like you described. How would you handle the issue of how is our church going to handle the issue of people that might be gay?
We're going to show love to them and we're going to respect them, but we don't agree with the quote unquote sin they're committing.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. But we have our own sin and our own shortcomings, and we just can't see it. And that's something that they might not can see with their eyes. I guess is the best way to put it. But I struggle with my own sin, and they struggle with theirs, I guess.
Right. So the idea is that you're gonna love the person and still respect them, and I think that's probably going to be
the commandment we're given in the Bible to follow.
Yeah, the best one. You think that's harder for the older generations to do? I can't imagine my grandmother. She was sweet, but I could just see her now going, "You're going to split hell wide open." She was a good old small town Southern Carthage, if you want to. That was the area she came from. But she was a real sweet person. But I never heard that ever talked about when I was in your age. Even at your age, you just didn't talk about it. So now that it's out there and open and with social media, if I was the pastor of a church, you can't ignore it. Yeah. You're going to have to tackle it.
Well, I come from a small town in Westmoreland,
okay.
So there's not much of that up there, and coming here to Ball State, it opens up a lot more than what was up there. So,
well, that's an interesting question I just thought of. I had another young man on here who talked about, I asked him that question, so how would you handle it? He said, well, I don't know, but I'll tell you this, since I moved down here, if you're asked that question, you better be very careful how you answer, because if you give the wrong answer, they're going to cancel you on social media and they're going to bully you. And he said they can be vicious, whoever they are. And I thought, wow, well, that's really different. So when you came from Westmoreland down here, obviously Ball State, much more diverse, open, et cetera. So that's what you saw?
Yeah. I'm just amazed by how many people are, I guess, blinded by that. It's an experience for sure. And what I previously came from 700-ish people to what is the rate?
But how would you handle it? Because, you are a very nice, easygoing person, but it's just like you answered just now. If I was gay, I don't think I would be offended by the way you delivered that, because you delivered it with a sign of respect, et cetera. So I think probably a lot of these pastors could learn a lot from you. Because I think if you give that answer in the correct way while still acknowledging your interpretation, it's a sin. And I think, I know if I was gay, I would think I would give you a pass on that. Because you're not plunging me into the lake of fire right away. I guess that's a nice way to put it.
That is.
Well, let me ask you this too, since we might as well keep going the controversial issues. When it comes to women, I was looking at the statistics. The number of women leaving the church is at an all-time high. And you know why? Because these women, a lot of them want to serve in church. So then you come down to, are women meant to stand in, the hierarchy above men in certain cases, or be the head, or be the leader? Maybe not the pastor, but even maybe an associate. And I know, for example, when the Baptists met this summer, they excommunicated a large number of huge churches that say they're on the wrong path. So what do you think about that? Because the reason why I ask that is because women have always been the rock that the church was built on. I know men's position according to the Bible, but it's very controversial. And the women I've had on here, they got very strong opinions on that.
I think they have a firm prayer foundation. And that's serving, like you said.
Yes.
And that's vital for the church, especially today. But for pastoral role, the Bible says for men to have that role, and I don't know why, but it is. But in the day we're living in, if a woman or a man, whoever, if they are a different gender, whatever, if they teach me biblically that, like if they teach me a perspective that I need to know, or helps me get a closer relationship with God, then that might be the door to get someone else to follow God.
Right. So if these women keep flooding out the door, we got a problem, don't we?
Yeah.
So we're going to have to do something. Something else that we're talking about is that, since obviously you're a young man too, they were talking about not just the loneliness, but when it comes to dating, that a lot of men don't know what to do anymore. They don't know how to ask them out. And then when they go on a date, they talk about that women will basically just ask them a series of questions. And if you answer incorrectly, just like you said, I'm leaving church, I'm leaving you. And that a lot of men don't know how to handle that anymore. Do you think that's true? I mean,
I do.
Obviously, I'm a lot older, from a different generation. So when I read that, I just thought that was pretty wild.
Very much exactly in that boat. I am. There's no way putting around it or anything.
So what are we going to do? We're going to have classes for young men to teach them how to how to navigate the Gen Z women of the 21st century?
Probably. Yeah. I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting too, because more women are in college than men. More women are graduating from college than men. But as a generation, your generation is the most educated, more enrolled in college. It also said 8 out of 10 women say they've been sexually harassed. So there's something that's changed. They're not willing to, I guess, submit graciously, as we used to say in the old days.
They're standing up for themselves, I guess.
Exactly. So you think that's going to be a harder road to navigate?
I do, because people are taking advantage of them.
Really?
And they're not showing love to them, and so they're just all rising up and standing against it.
Yeah, not respecting them too. All right, a couple other things I wanted to ask you. they were talking about 39% feel lonely, 1/3 no religion at all. And then they were talking about just your generation, like their attitude toward things like gay marriage. What was it? The 48% say that people should be able to marry whoever they love, that's okay with them as far as that goes. And then 95% of you all have smartphones. I think that's probably true because in class we noticed they can't be very far from them.
The devil box.
Yeah, the devil. I always call it the devil box. Yeah, exactly. But then the number that feel down, feel depressed, etc. But then when it turns on voting, like the first big election for your generation is coming this year, okay? When it comes to that issue, the statistics go a totally different way. They're fired up. They're looking forward to voting. So, but what do you think? Are you excited about the election coming up this year?
This is my very first one to vote, and
yeah,
I'm really split because it's kind of a difficult decision, really, because it's really based on the pandemic and stuff. This really determines what direction is America going to go.
Right.
And so people need to be educated and understand.
But how do you think your generation, because there's a lot of people that are worried that, like the way you communicate. I had somebody, they were talking about TikTok videos. Like they'll do a 2 or 3 minute video, then I'm an expert on the issue, and then take a stand. And a lot of times my generation sees that and goes, how could you have educated yourself on a 2-minute video clip? Are you being manipulated?
Yes, manipulation.
So you think so?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you think your generation should approach it? And I'm probably dragging this out because here's the big issue. Most of the statistics seem to determine that your generation is probably going to decide who sits in that White House. Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to it, then how you view these candidates, the two right now, and I know there's all kinds of stuff going on. So how do you get your generation to convince my generation that you're making wise choices with your first opportunity? Is that a nice way to put it?
I guess advertising, but I know, like you said, the 2 and 3 minute clips, that doesn't really justify it. They need to do their own research about each issue.
Do you think you will, your group?
I will. I don't know about my generation because they're so lazy, but it's the best way to
So you think they're a lazy crowd?
Yes, I do.
I've had several people sit out here and share that too. But I think it's interesting, though, that you'll probably determine which way it goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty interesting. Do you have any personal feelings right now? Is there any gut telling you anything? Or what are you waiting to hear? Maybe that's a better thing. Like, what are the issues that you think the election will turn on for your group?
The number one reason is economic status in the country, which is
Really?
plummeting right now, obviously.
So you feel like how you feel economically will probably be one of the biggest.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
That's the major factor, and then religion, who presses towards my religious views the best.
Really?
And stuff.
So you think President Biden, I believe he is Catholic by birth or whatever.
Yeah.
What is Trump?
I
I hadn't figured it out yet myself. Huh?
I'm unaware, but I'm pretty sure he's a Christian, but I'm not.
Okay.
I can't prove it right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think just follow what positions they take, and then as far as the religious part, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll be pretty cool. All right. The other thing, and I find this very interesting. They were talking about you're the best educated. Are you strong about social issues, like like when the police are beating somebody up and they've got them on camera? George Floyd, when they had the knee on the neck, and then of course the racial backlash as far as that goes.
I feel like an outlier compared to my generation because they stand up for all these uprisings.
So
and
you're
stuff.
not that way?
I'm not that way. I'm very laid back on that, and most of it I disagree with. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're
Okay.
not. It's like the 2-minute clips and stuff. They're just going off that, and they're not justifying on what the cause could have been and stuff.
Okay, so you don't feel like it's very clear.
Yes.
So you just trust the police to make the judgments, let the courts decide as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're probably very different on that as far as that goes. So what do you think about like the church of the future? So my generation's dying off pretty rapidly. We're baby boomers. We're headed out the door quick. My dad, my mom, my dad passed away a year ago. My mom's up next, and then it's my turn. And then we're getting down to millennials, then you. And you're the big one that's coming. So Where do you see the church going, and where do you see the political, like, what are the presidents you guys are going to offer up? Are we going to have a woman president? Are we going to have a person of color? I mean, because it used to be like the church in the 50s was white, male, Christian. I mean, go back for 250 years. Now look at the church today. The largest group in the South that's the Bible Belt are people that say, I'm spiritual but not even religious. What 1/3 don't even go. 1/3 goes sporadically, and then 1/3 goes all the time. So if those women are fleeing, so what are you going to offer up as far as politics go in your church? What's it going to look like?
I don't think it's going to matter what gender you are or race or whatever. I think it's going to be based off, do you offer my views or not, really?
Really? Yeah. Okay. So what kind of church do you see your generation producing? Well, what would you design the church? Tell me what I trust you. You seem like an honest, balanced person.
I like, for the most part, the layout of the current, like, mega church kind of, that has its flaws and stuff, but if people don't feel a relationship with God, they need to interact with people and try to pray or ask questions and stuff.
Well, but see, that's one of the things that's always come up here. Everybody in your generation that identifies as a Christian says, but I want to have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
I don't want you to just talk to me about God. I want to have an actual relationship with him. So how do you create a church for this huge group of people that are saying they want a relationship?
They need to get in the Word, whether it's at church or by themselves, or whatever. I believe that is what's built up my character. I have read the Word really since the pandemic gave me that offer. Really,
So you think the pandemic was probably a good thing?
I do.
When it comes to spiritual growth.
It really gave me a time to spiritually grow. I've never read the full Bible before, but during the pandemic, I was given the opportunity and challenge, really is the best way to put it, to read the whole Bible.
Did you?
And we did. Our whole family decided to take that, and we all had discussions about it and interacted, and we've grown a lot since then.
So how did that change? I mean, do you mind? I don't know how private you want to go, but so how did that change your family?
Well, we all were religious and believed in the firm foundations anyway to begin with, but that just brought it to another level that we never thought that could happen.
So reading the Word really had a huge impact because, I mean, everything I've always read said that's the key to everything.
It is.
So if you're going to create a church to drag these Gen Zs in, right, so they can have an experience with God.
They could have groups with their friends or loved ones and read whatever topic the church is talking about or whatever, or they can just read the whole Bible themselves or whatever topic they want to choose and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you think that's the way to go, huh?
Somewhat.
Okay. A couple other things in here they were talking about is that they were critical of those big mega churches. So these were a couple of things they said, and just tell me what you think. One of them said less noise, more space. In other words, they wanted to basically have room to reflect and pray as a part of the service.
I really believe that should be implemented in churches today. They're focusing too much on the concert aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the other one: less performance, more presence. In other words, they wanted to, actually have that experience, not just look on stage and have the best rock performance. Which I like Brandon Lake and a lot of the current music, but it has its place.
And I like the current music too because it gives people new perspectives rather than reading that book of the 100 Psalms or whatever.
Exactly. Here was another one: less production, more participation, like smoke machines, lights, videos, all that stuff. They said, that kind of bothers them. I mean, are you diminishing the spirituality with having a smoke machine? And I thought that was pretty cool. Then they were talking about, I don't know if you remember the Asbury revival that took place up in Kentucky. That I went to it. Did you talk to anybody that went to it?
I did not. I didn't know anyone personally, but I read articles and stuff about it and saw videos. It's unreal.
Yeah, it was very incredible. I tell you what, a lot of people, when you read this, of what they're critical of, they get fired up for that. That's what they want. Yeah. Now, I know you can't just create that, but you have to pray and believe for it. But a lot of this group says that's exactly what they want.
God's timing.
Yeah. Also, there's a great quote, I love it here. It said, Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty needs to be paired every generation. Well, some people I've had on here think your generation's going to pair the tree. But there's a lot of people that say your generation's killing Jesus and religion. So which is it?
I don't believe that. I do believe the quote, but I don't believe that we're killing it. I believe we're making a new reality, I guess.
So you think wanting to have a true experience, and you think also at the same time,
Having a firm foundation.
if we have the
yeah.
firm foundation or whatever, then we'll actually be saving the church. Huh?
Yes.
Well, that'd be interesting.
It's
I think
not just a pastor talking about a topic and stuff. It's about how are we interacting with people to save them, to get them to heaven.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you this: when you did go up to the revival, it was amazing to see people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, the people in front of me were from Brazil, and I said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "We felt led to come. Got had the means, got on the plane, and here they are at 10 o'clock at night, standing in front of a little Christian college with a 2,000 seat auditorium waiting to go in." And I thought, wow, I'd never experienced anything like that. So I thought that was pretty good as far as that goes. All right, a couple more things, and then we always end on a good note as far as that goes. One of the things, too, is that when you look at the politics, and you said yourself, the economics are going to be important. How do you see that going forward? Because we got a lot of issues coming down the pike.
it's
So
crazy.
do you feel good about your future?
I do
about
not. I
going
don't.
to school, going to college? I mean, do you
The
don't?
debt's getting unreal. We're in 34 trillion debt right now, or whatever.
Absolutely.
I don't know how
You
we're
think
gonna
my
get out.
generation's left you with a big noose around your neck and there's no survival?
And both of the candidates are spending like crazy. So I don't know what to.
So what do you? So you don't feel optimistic about the economics of the whole thing, huh? So what about you personally, though?
Well,
I mean, you're a good student. I've had you in class. I mean,
Well,
I've
I've
got you now. But do you feel good about yours?
personally I do, but if you start involving these government debts and stuff, I don't. But I've lived in a blessed family, and we've
Okay.
had income and stuff. And during the pandemic, we didn't really get affected or anything. But
Oh, it's because your parents could work from home, or is that what you're saying? Or?
I had an office job.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could work from home. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. So, but I mean, you're thinking about going to Western after here, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So you finish your degree. You think it's all good?
I'll have to find a job and internship and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I'll
you
have to do
think you're going to be okay as far as that goes,
I do
right?
maybe till I died. Maybe the next generation might have to.
Maybe they're really going to suffer, huh? Well, what about as far as, like where do you go from here? Like, because at Vol State, we've gone through a lot of rough stuff too. We're like everybody else. The pandemic did a number on us. Enrollment shrunk. We don't have as many people coming to school. Then you read all these kind of statistics, political, economic, and then the fabric of society. And here's the thing that's cool. You're next up. Because as my generation dies off, our morals, our civility or lack of civility, our respect, all that stuff is going to be defined by your group. So what do you think?
Like
I
I've
mean,
worked
we're not
on it,
leaving you with a nice, beautiful,
Yeah.
clean sheet, I guess is what I'm
We
saying.
have to deal with all the debt that I guess y'all's generation and stuff has embedded on us.
So what are you going to do with us?
There's nothing we can do. It's already been done.
Yeah, but you're the next one up. I mean, if we're going to really tackle the economic problems that you say affect your generation, you're going to have to inflict pain, suffering, and sacrifice.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people in my generation is going to be lining up to get behind you.
Y'all
Even though I teach it and I agree with you, well, you tell me, what's your definition of an average American? You think the average American from my generation is going to go, okay, we loaded them up with 34 trillion, we have a duty and an obligation to suffer. Or are we going to go, why don't you wait till that next group comes and let them take care of it? They can do the suffering and let's just get us out the door. What do you think?
I agree with that. Yeah.
So you think we'll be ready to self-sacrifice for you?
Yeah.
Well, you're more optimistic than I am. I don't think suffering's high on our priority
You're not,
list.
but we're gonna probably 30-ish years, something like that. It's gonna be really.
So
tough.
you're gonna force it on us?
Maybe.
Okay, that'd be pretty cool as far as that goes. A couple other things. Well, I don't know. This is probably a good time. So You believe in heaven and hell. You're a strong believer reading the Bible. You know we got some economic problems. We got some political problems coming. All these other things as far as that goes. Is there anything left that you think your generation can do better, obviously, than ours has done for you?
I'm sure there'll be new ideas and things that can pop up, but at this current moment, I'm unaware. I don't know what the future will hold, but the only thing we can do is trust in God, and maybe He'll open up a way to save us, I guess.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people believe there'll be one big revival at the end, kind of like Asbury, but on a more of a global scale, and that'll be the last one. And then everybody where I go to church says, then judgment comes.
Then we'll go to heaven.
Well, that judgment they're talking about is a lot of weeping, gnashing of teeth, a lot of killing and stuff like that. So when you look at the Middle East right now and you look at the things going on, then you add our debt and all those other things, are you optimistic?
No.
You're not optimistic, but you're a believer.
But I'm a believer, and that's the gist of it. Countries have collapsed before and stuff, but this is the biggest country in the world.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I will tell you something good since we're almost ready to wrap up. In everything that I've read, whether you believe or don't believe, people who identify as Christians are more likely to give to charity. They're more likely not to commit suicide. In other words, a lot of these negatives we've talked about, there are some positives that come with it. So I think what you're saying is there is that part still over there, but you're also not naive. Because you are an educated young man. You do know these things are real over here.
They're real,
So is it going to be better? Am I going to be able to ride out the door okay? You guys going to handle the challenges?
You will be, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Not sure about you. Okay.
Yeah, not sure.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and, hey, is there any last words? Anything you want to share on the way out the door?
We've had a good conversation. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll see you in class. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for being with us on New South Christians. We appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you listened to, share it with somebody else. We'd appreciate it. And God bless you, and have a happy day.
People get ready. There's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to it be Susan. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord.